What's up, everyone? The streets are buzzing tonight. Knicks Nation, welcome into the show. Glad you could join us and hope you're doing well on this Saturday night, Friday night, where you're at mostly. But the legend, Bill Daughtry, is with us once again. Bill, Happy New Year and great to see you. How you been?
CT, always a pleasure, man. I mean, really, it is an honor for me to be on this show and have a voice with an international audience. I can't say it any other way. This really is a great connection, one that I really enjoy. And again, thanks for having me, man.
All you got to do is call. All you got to do is let me know, and you're on.
Well, full disclosure, I am on X because of you and one or two other people who stay in touch with me through that medium. Otherwise, I'm not a frequent flyer there anymore.
Yeah, I love it. Old school, real interaction. But yeah, this platform, we're blessed to have you come on, and also your fans, many fans, love the engagement with you on here. You've been on here, lose count now, but we get to talk about this journey that we're on as Knicks fans, and the best fan base internationally, worldwide. Here we are, man. The season's almost at the halfway point. It's been another huge season of storylines. Started out a little rocky, but here we are, man. Big trade, guys in all-star consideration who we're going to talk about tonight. Future moves to discuss, a lot to unpack as the chat piles in. Uh, what stood out to you for the season so far before we dive in to the nitty-gritty?
Well, I mean, look, you know where I was at the beginning of this season. I was not excited about this team, not a little bit. Yeah, I was watching them. I was keeping my eye on what was going on, but there was nothing exciting about the Knicks. And then they make the December 30th trade, and now, to me, they're the second best team in the Eastern Conference, and they are one deal away from being a team that is legit for the Eastern Conference Finals. Let me be clear. Maybe nobody in basketball, but in the East, nobody's better than Boston. Nobody. The Celtics are that team. I mean, yeah, they got flogged last night messing around in Milwaukee, but they were coming off an overtime game. It was the second game of a back-to-back. It was pointed out it was their fifth game in 7 days. So, they were on fumes. And some people are a little upset with the coach for, as Kendrick Perkins said today on ESPN, tapping out when he did in the second quarter. So,
Man, a lot like you, man. I've noticed, obviously, we do this content creation. I've noticed the engagement go up through the roof since this trade. It was like that with the Hart trade, with the Derrick Rose trade, but this just feels different. If there's a move in the past that you could consider, you could compare this to, in years past, and maybe OG, the fit and the player with another player. Is there anything that comes to your mind?
well, what I like about OG is he's a guy that doesn't need the ball. And in this trade, while some people had problems with it, I don't know why, but when the Knicks made this trade, I was of the mind that of the three players involved, the three primary players involved, I mean, Precious Achua and the guard, who, look at that, I can't even call his name, but when those guys, they weren't the primaries. The three primary players, of the three, I thought OG Anunoby was clearly the best. And that's not to disparage RJ Barrett. That's not to disparage Emmanuel Quickly, because the Knicks still have to make up for what they lost offensively in that second unit with Emmanuel Quickly. Their need right now is to fix their bench. And I've had a lot of conversations with people about this in the last 3 or 4 days. And I think the next thing the Knicks do will be something to fix them short term, will be something to fix them for the rest of this season. And I guess in that, I'm saying I don't think, as much as I'd like it, I don't think they're going to win the Dejounte Murray sweepstakes. He's a guy who could swing the balance of some things in the Eastern Conference. For instance, tonight I'm seeing Miami is in the chase. So Miami, the Lakers, the Knicks, the Bulls, the 76ers. If the Sixers found a way and I think they're more focused on Siakam than they are Murray, and that makes perfect sense because they have a great 1-2 punch. So why would you want to disturb that? You know, but I think Philly's focus is more on getting Siakam, be reunited with his old coach. He'd be a force defensively and offensively on that Sixer team. So where does Dejounte Murray go? And I'm starting to think he doesn't go to the New York Knicks because I'm told Atlanta, they want a couple of players back, and I'm not so sure that the Knicks want to part ways with the injured Mitchell Robinson, or that they would want to part ways with Dante, who has come over here and has done a magnificent job for them coming off the bench. And of course, remember, I was that guy that was saying Dante DiVincenzo, that's not enough to get me excited about what the Knicks are this year. But now, since they inserted him into the starting lineup, and since this trade, he's a key part of the puzzle right now. And without him, even though he does get some time on the second unit, as Julius Randle does on occasion, as does Jalen Brunson, but without him, they're even farther away on that second unit. Their bench scoring is down. Their starting scoring is up. Now they gotta find a way to fill that void left by the departure of Emmanuel Quickly.
Well, it was a lot to unpack there, but we just got a Bill bomb, which was, as we know, the Knicks are, in discussions with many teams, talking to Atlanta, filling out the process. Okay, what are you going to give us? Murray. Okay, they were interested in Grimes. Last time they talked Cam Reddish. But you're talking about Mitchell Robinson, that the Atlanta Hawks have asked for Mitchell Robinson in a Dejounte Murray deal.
And again, remember, I was a guy in the offseason. I was trading Mitchell. I was trading him and Julius Randle. And of course, DeAndre Ayton is in a state of injury right now for Portland. When they were in here the other night, he didn't play. He's having a good season, by the way, 13-10. I mean, about as good as a season as you're going to have with that team, that assemblage of players they have up in Portland. So it's interesting. It's compelling. It's confounding. I was having a conversation with someone just before we came on the air here, and we were marveling at the fact that Portland has been silent. Everybody else has been talking up Malcolm Brogdon, but you haven't heard a word from Portland. And nobody seems to know, at least it hasn't hit publicly, nobody seems to know what Portland would want in a deal. But Brogdon would be an ideal fit for them. He'd be an ideal fit from a salary standpoint. He'd be an ideal fit from what the Knicks need right now. You're talking about the reigning NBA Sixth Man of the Year, and a guard who is damn good defensively. I don't know if he's as good as Dejounte Murray when Murray's at his peak, but Malcolm Brogdon, and he's an educated guy. He's a smart guy. His nickname is Prez. Okay. And I mean, if he had those aspirations after his playing career, nobody would laugh because he's that kind of guy. So, I mean, Brogdon is, for now, he's the perfect fit. He's the perfect fit. but there's a greedy part of me that would like Dejounte Murray. And people talk about he's a guy that needs the ball, he's this, he's that, he's the other, he's fallen off defensively. He was part of the old defensive team a couple of years ago when Nate McMillan was the head coach, and there was defensive accountability on the Atlanta Hawks. I mean, he was that player. Now, what's to say, even though I don't like what it would cost to get him, what's to say that Dejounte Murray joins a team that has a legit shot at winning the Eastern Conference? I'm not going to elevate him to the NBA Finals yet, but they got a chance to be in the Eastern Conference Finals. That's just one round removed from where they were last year. But what's to say that Dejounte Murray won't look at that situation if it's presented to him and say, hey, I'll be John Havlicek. I'll come off the bench, whatever you need, because I want to win. So, I mean, if that kind of scenario presented itself, I'm all in on Dejounte Murray, who, by the way, doesn't make a heck of a lot more than Brogdon. I think he's up to 24, 25 next year. He goes up another $500,000 the year after that. And I think 3 years down the road, he's got a player option for $30 million. Affordable. But of course, when you're making these trades, you got to match that money. And, you can draft pick up the wazoo, but draft picks are only worth like $3 million in trade value dollars. So,
Yeah, before I get your initial grade on the OG deal and we look at some stats, I'm with you on those two. I think they both fit in various ways. For me, the big key also people need to consider is Brunson in this, because Brunson's minutes are so critical to the game's flow. We seem, I mean, not discounting Randall's importance, but both of those guys, when both are off the court, I'm worried about the playoffs. I'm not worried about, these games. I'm worried about, okay, how can we blow the other team out, or you know stay in the game when Brunson and Randall are off the court. And I think a Brogdon, a Dejounte Murray, both would have a huge role with those two lead guys, but also off the bench. When those guys are sitting, and that was a big part of RJ Barrett's role with this team, was to help carry some of the scoring burden as well. So I think both those guys, knowing their role coming into this team, I think they would welcome that with the New York Knicks. You're going to get a ton of love. You're going to get the best fan base. You're going to get on a deep playoff run. You're going to get the best chance to beat Philly, Boston, and Milwaukee. Which other team is going to even have a chance at beating them?
here's the thing. I think that, as you point out, both Brogdon and more so Murray, even though Murray requires the ball a little bit more, but when Julius disappears, as he tends to do in the postseason, there's that second vein of scoring that you're going to need, that second source of points that you're going to need. One of the things that you and I were discussing before we came on is how the ball moves now with the Knicks on offense. And it's interesting because the perception was that Brunson is a black hole and Randall doesn't give up the ball. They're both ball stoppers. That was the perception. But now that RJ Barrett is gone, ball is really moving around on offense now, isn't it? So who was the true ball stopper there? I mean, the
Ooh.
consensus has been, the statistics show that Brunson and Randall have settled into their primary scoring positions, and that it's understood and that you don't have the third wheel that was RJ Barrett in that setup. And I have always been high on RJ. I like him a lot as a player. I like him a lot as a person. And what people need to lock in on now that he is in Toronto, never mind being at home, but the Raptors are playing him and quickly as a backcourt duo. Not playing the three, not drifting across to the four on occasion. He's doing what he did basically in his first 2 years here with the New York Knicks, play guard. And at that position, on many nights, he's a mismatch for the guy that's guarding him. Knicks are famous for playing people out of position. See Carmelo Anthony, see Larry Johnson, see Latrell Sprewell. You can start there. And to me, RJ Barrett, his best position has always been shooting guard. And now that's what he's playing in Toronto. And what did he do the other night? Score 37 points?
Yep. And here's my take as well. He's playing next to another great two-way defensive wing, Scotty Barnes. RJ Barrett was the wing on the Knicks. He doesn't get the luxury of playing with a wing who can be the defensive stopper.
Right.
And also, the Knicks needed floor spacing. RJ Barrett was the floor spacer with the Knicks. But on the Toronto Raptors, they have floor spacers around him. So it's an incredible fit both ways. What's your grade for what Leon Rose has done? OG Anunoby.
You know, I tell you what, for the acquisition of OG, he's an A plus. But they get it. They're still incomplete. It's still an incomplete. They have to make that next deal. And again, that next deal, I believe they're going to make for this year, for this team, for this situation. Now, if something happens that allows them to get Dejounte Murray, I think everybody in Knick land would be over the top in love with the move. But I think from a more practical standpoint, a deal for Malcolm Brogdon, and I was resistant to that thought too. I was resistant to it because I'm saying, damn, if they go out and get Dejounte Murray, and Atlanta's in a situation, they're gonna have to do something with him. And no, Trae Young ain't going nowhere. That's not going to happen because there's certain people in the organization in powerful positions that love Trae Young, so he's going nowhere. But Dejounte Murray would give the Knicks, are you ready for this? It would give the Knicks all-star defenders, all-league defenders at 2 of the 3 levels on the floor. And there are some that are ready to crown Mitchell Robinson when he's healthy as that 3rd-level guy. So, and you know that fits right into Tom Thibodeau's way of thinking. Grind them to pieces, be physical with them, beat them down, give them your best defense, your best defensive effort every night, and that's what's going to put you in position to win. And having Murray at the top of your defense, I'll tell you who could really use him, the Milwaukee Bucks. Tell me they don't miss Drew Holiday. I haven't heard Milwaukee's name in any of this, by the way.
You said it. You see, everyone want to focus on scoring, but the Knicks acquisition, the biggest impact OG is going to make is you can neutralize or stop a Tatum, a Jimmy Buckets, Jaylen Brown, Ant-Man. We were SGA. The Knicks were getting cooked right before this trade, and I think it sped up Leon Rose's aggression. You know, right after the in-season tournament, we had to play Boston, we had to play the Bucks, we had to play the Thunder, the Magic. The Pacers ran us out of the gym. It was actually maybe a blessing. That might have been a blessing and a curse.
I was going to say, how many of those games did they win?
You see, and you know, I don't want fans to get on OG Anunoby when he puts up 9 points. Like that's not why we brought him in here, right? It's to maximize Brunson and Randle and Grimes and other guys' potential, but also let OG do what OG does. You know, that's his game. But you mentioned Tom Thibodeau because this is doubling down on a Tom Thibodeau team, like you said, and that could be a clue as to where Leon Rose goes next, because I think Tom Thibodeau is going to get an extension. this OG deal. There was talk even, a year ago that he was the most coveted player that
Mm-hmm.
Tibbs wanted,
Mm-hmm.
Bill.
Yeah. Yeah. And the timing of it allows the Knicks it gives them some negotiating freedom when June rolls around. They can do some things with OG. I'm just looking in the chat, and Dirty Dancer says Murray has had some bad habits in Atlanta on defense, but so did Derek Harper when we first got him. Bad teams breed bad habits, and he's absolutely right. Again, when Nate McMillan left town, defensive accountability was a thing of the past. When Nate left, defensive accountability left with him. No disrespect to Quinn Snyder,
Wow, you said it.
but Quinn Snyder never defended Michael Jordan in an NBA final. Nate McMillan did. Nate McMillan was part of the defensive heart and soul of the Seattle Supersonics when they were championship caliber. He was that guy. He was that guy. Just as OG gets the number one offensive player, that's his assignment every night. Just as Holiday gets the number one guy whenever Boston is playing. Well, Nate McMillan was that guy with Seattle. Everybody talks about the glove. Everybody talks about Gary Payton, but Nate McMillan, his DNA was about defense. And as a head coach, at every stop he made, it was about defense. And when guys start crying about it, that he's too hard on us, he wants too much. It's defensive accountability, and that's what wins you championships. And defensive accountability is one of the things that keeps Tom Thibodeau's Knicks viable, because they're about it every night on defense. They are, whether they have it in the tank or not. And last night against Dallas, they almost pulled a minor miracle there, but they didn't. It was a trap game. No Luka. Luka's not playing. Yeah, I get it. Kyrie's great, but Luka's not playing. Okay.
I'll tell you, just a little bit about last night's game. I haven't had a chance to recap, but um, the defensive scheme for the New York Knicks is to, pack the paint, prevent dribble penetration. So
Mm-hmm.
every now and then, maybe one in every 10 games, one in every 6 games, the other team is going to shoot lights out, 8 of 10 from deep in the first quarter, right? You could talk about Randall's closeouts. You could talk about the Knicks, weren't getting out. They weren't fully invested in the first quarter, and that's what happens. All it takes is one quarter and you can get blown out. But what I did like was the Knicks fought all the way back, almost won the game. There were some very, very dubious calls all game long. Uh, they've still got the best player on the court. Whatever you want to talk about, Kyrie Irving is still, the best player. But I thought Tom Thibodeau was late bringing the adjustment, the double. If we had started doubling Kyrie earlier, maybe we get back into it sooner. What do you think?
It all of that is in play. All of that is possible. Again, it was a bad night. It wasn't a good night for the New York Knicks, and they almost won the game. And that they almost won leaves you with that taste that they should have won. But you know what? Now it's on to Memphis, and don't fall into that same trap now, because Ja Morant is out for the season. There was another piece I just saw in the chat. Keith Turner says, so what makes you think Murray will work with Brunson? I don't know. Maybe Keith missed the part where I said maybe because Murray wants to be with a team that's going to win, maybe he comes off the bench for the rest of the year. Maybe. We don't know. We don't know. It's a deal that, boy, it's out there, but in my heart of hearts, I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think it's going to happen now before the February 8th trade deadline. I just don't. There's too much that has to happen. We were talking about Clint Capella, because I mean, really, when you get right down to it, Precious Achua ain't the guy that's going to help you when Hartenstein has to sit down. And Mitch coming back, it's a dream, rumor, whatever you want to call it. And I think a lot of it was driven from the fact, and follow the money, that the Knicks were trying to get that injury exemption for him. And I don't think that's going to happen.
No, he's coming back. I think also what I want people to understand about a Dejounte Murray deal as well, and it leads along what we've been saying, is that ain't the final move as well. If
No,
you can get Dejounte Murray for just a couple of picks, maybe Grimes, maybe Mitch, whoever else, but if you can keep majority of your own picks, that still gives you the next move that you can make. And Dejounte Murray's still tradable. So think of this like the OG move was a stepping stone. Dejounte Murray might be the second stepping stone, and there might be one more after that, right? So don't think like, oh, we're going all in Dejounte Murray. No, the point of a Dejounte Murray Brogdon deal is that they're not superstars. They're another guy who could get you closer, but you get to keep your war chest of assets.
you've collected 3 or 4 1B players. That bodes well. I mean, look
That
at what they've done.
complement your superstars.
Look at what they've done in Boston. They still got Tatum. They still got Brown. And they go out and add possibly the best defensive guard in the entire league in Holiday. And then, let's get Porzingis too to shore up the center position. Because Porzingis doesn't have to come here and be number one offensively. He allows us to do some other things, and we don't have to constantly feed him the ball. Our offense doesn't run through him, but when he's on the floor, it can. Because we still got Tatum and Brown. And now we got a legit lead guard in Holiday, who is, as we said, probably the best defender up top in the entire league. He's so good that when they play the Knicks, he defends Julius Randle. So the more talent you can assemble, if you get a superstar, great. But if you have talent, if you have density and talent, like the championship Boston Celtics did before and during Larry Bird, that's how you win. That's how you win championships. Look at the Lakers. They had the superstar. They had Magic. Kareem was going down slowly when he was there, but he was still effective Kareem, not prime Kareem. You had James Worthy. You had Michael Cooper. You got Showtime. You have levels of talented players. And the Knicks, hopefully they can get to that. Right now, they need to fill the void on the bench, and they need to come up with a plan B when Julius Randle disappears in the playoffs. That's his history. That's his history. Can you argue with me that that's not his history? That's what he does.
What about the ankle?
Okay, if it was that bad, don't play. You can't blame it on injury. You can't blame it on the refs. If you suit up, you're ready to go. The great coaches don't buy those arguments. They don't buy the ref argument. They don't buy the injury argument. If you tape up and dress up, they assume they're going to get everything you got, no matter what it is.
Here's what I need from Julius is offense. Everyone's focused on that again in the playoffs. How does he get his shots, all of that. If he's moving the ball with the right situation, but he's locked in on defense, give me that Julius any day of the week, right? I don't care if he puts up 15 points, 18 points in a playoff game, but if he's contesting, he's holding his own defensively, he's engaged, all of that is going to help us win a whole lot more.
My whole feeling on Julius Randle, and he's a great player. it's come to me who he is in my NBA frame of reference. Just like I talked about Mitchell Robinson being Clifford Ray. Okay. Well, to me, Julius Randle is George McGinnis. He's always been the biggest, most talented guy in the gym, even if he wasn't. That is, bully ball, all that. And just tries to bring a total game when, dude, it don't take the total game. I give a damn about your 5 assists. I don't care. All I want you to do is run the floor, get some rebounds, and the ball's going to find you. The ball's going to find you. That's what is going to help you and this team go to that next level. All of this dribbling. He always dribbles into the double team, and then he throws that stupid jump pass that goes the other way. Don't need that.
Yeah, got to get rid of that.
Don't need that. And again, I'm not saying he's not a great player, because he is. But to be truly great, what you do in the regular season, you have to elevate that. You have to take that up a notch in the postseason. The great ones do it. LeBron does it. Magic did it. Bird did it. You name it. Clyde did it. In different sport, Derek Jeter did it. Tom Brady did it. And they were all champions because of that fact that when it came to be winning time, their game went up another notch. And that's what we need from Julius. That's what we need.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I agree. One team I want to bring up, Bill, and chat, and I appreciate you chat buzzing right now with the legend Bill DAUGHTRY on Knicks Buzz. Smash that like button and ask us any questions. We're going to be on for another 30 minutes at least.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a team, like I said, Bill, I hate to mention them in terms of comparisons, but last year's Miami Heat, right? People talking about, okay, the Knicks need that third star. They need to get there to win. The Miami Heat made the NBA Finals last year, staying true to what they do, right? They had a hampered Jimmy Butler, okay, still a great player. Didn't exactly light it up offensively outside of the Bucks series. Then they have Bam Adebayo, a defensive anchor.
He is one of the most underrated players in this league.
Yep, you said it. A guy who's the glue as well, and kind of what Hartenstein's doing for and Mitch, but can give them more offensively.
Mm-hmm.
They were without Tyler Hero. They got the most out of Caleb Martin, Max Strauss, Gabe Vincent, Kevin Love, Kyle Lowry on their last legs. What they did proved that you don't need really a third star. Now, I'm not saying it's easy, but in my opinion, it proves that you can, with your solid nucleus and maybe depth, defense, good coaching. I think that's why a Dejounte Murray deal and a Malcolm Brogdon deal, I think, could be enough to get us out of the East.
Well,
Now, I'm not saying it's easy.
Let me say this. Miami's one of the teams that's in on Dejounte Murray. And if Miami gets Murray, well, all of a sudden they climb over the Knicks, and the Knicks are the third best team in the conference again. This thing is crazy. Even the Bulls are trying to get in on Dejounte Murray.
Yeah. LOL.
Well, they got the Levine situation, and that's and the Bulls. DeMar DeRozan is probably going to be moved by the trade deadline. If they move him and Levine, now the Bulls are in a bit of a rebuild. I don't care how great Kobe White has been playing, and he's been playing pretty good, especially in the absence of Levine.
Caruso.
But, yeah. And what are the Lakers going to do? I mean, again, there's a lot of teams in this mix. So, like, as much as I'd like to see it, I'm not going to be disappointed if the Knicks don't get Dejounte Murray. But please bear in mind that I don't want to put it on this level, but when you compare it to this kind of generation, it'd be like Earl Monroe coming here when Clyde was here. Because people are, how is he going to fit with Brunson? Well, didn't we ask that question when the Knicks picked up Pearl? How is he and Clyde going to play together? And they're both in the Hall of Fame. They both have a championship ring together. They figured it out. Brunson's a bit of a basketball savant. He is. It's in him. If you're going to add a great player to his team, you think he's going to try to mitigate that? That he's going to try and stand in the way of that? I don't think so at all. Because the goal is to win a championship. And you've seen it. You've seen it in Brunson on nights when he's not shooting the basketball well. Damn good facilitator. He had a couple of double-digit assist games last week. He's doing what he needs to do to win now. So if you don't think that if the Knicks went out and added an all-star caliber piece to this team, be it Murray, be it Brogdon, everybody seems to be locked in that if Murray comes here, he and Brunson are going to be the backcourt. Okay. All right. That's fine with me. Because then Dejounte Murray can focus on being that defender that everybody thinks he is. And then with him and OG Anunoby out there stopping people, trying to stop people, disrupting other offenses, you wouldn't sign up for that? It's okay.
No, there's so many rotations that I think we can make this work. I think, great point about Brunson, man. We are 17th in assists since OG Anunoby has come into the building, right? Guess where we were before that?
20 what?
28th.
Yeah.
We're 28th after 38 games.
Uh-huh.
And after the OG trade, we're 17th.
17.
So the ball is moving, but the turnovers are up. You see, one of the reasons we were so low in turnovers is because we're so isolation heavy.
Yeah.
So we're starting to see now we're 23rd in turnovers. But I think that's a lot of the chemistry figuring things out with OG. You know, everyone's kind of walking on eggshells. Okay, where do we get him his buckets? You know, that's going to get figured out, like you said.
Apply the football analogy to for passing to what the Knicks situation is. The ball is moving now, but in football, they say when you throw a pass, there's three things that can happen, and two of them are bad. Pretty much the same thing in the NBA. But we want the ball to move. We want the ball to move. And when it's moving, it's a beautiful thing to see. And when it's moving now for the New York Knicks, they're winning games. They're winning games.
Yeah, that's it. That's key. We got Tibbs guys. We're doubling down. We got flexibility still. Now the elephant in the room, Bill, is a guy we've talked about a heck of a lot. Mitchell Robinson, right? News broke that, you know, quite frankly, I don't even know where it came from that he was out for the year. That, you know, those were premature reports when they first came out. I don't understand how it just flipped where, okay, Mitch is out for the season, and then all of a sudden there's a chance he's going to come back. Like,
yeah,
to me, that's bad reporting.
There was like he was going to be back in 6 to 8 weeks, which is 2 months. I thought that was reasonable, but then all of a sudden that changed to like he's probably not coming back. I don't know what transpired or what the development was that somebody would say that. I don't know. I still don't know. But I did hear that the Knicks were trying to get that same kind of injury exemption that Memphis is trying to get in Ja Morant's situation. And as I understand it, the NBA said no. So all of a sudden, now there's a possibility he'll be back this year. Right now, to me, Mitchell Robinson's a non-factor on the New York Knicks. He is, because he's not playing. He's not available. You don't know what his timetable is going to be. You don't know when he's going to be ready to come back. So any discussion involving Mitchell Robinson to me right now is folly because you don't know. I don't think his doctors know. Give me a schedule or a timetable when he's going to be able to start running again. When he's going to be able to start non-contact drills again.
Great point.
I think right now that's 2 months away. I mean, right now. So that takes you into what? March? Early March? Okay. Well, if the games are important in early March, do you want to hang your hat on Mitchell Robinson being in important games, playing important moments, coming back from this injury that a lot of people thought was going to sideline him for the season? I'm not saying he can't. I'm not saying he can't at all. And he's a guy who's had injury history in the past. So, to me, he's not a factor right now. He's not. And I mean, if what I've heard or what I've been told is true about Atlanta would want him in a deal for Dejounte Murray, I'd have to consider it. I'd have to give it a look. Look, I saw Wayne Gretzky get traded at the pinnacle of his career. Greatest player ever to put on skates, bar none. Gordie Howe, Mario Lemieux, you pick the player. Gretzky was the man. But in pro sports, there's this thing called money. And it was economics that got him dealt out of Edmonton. And what's Atlanta's problem now? Economics going forward. Because next year they got a $47 million player on their roster. They got to figure out what they're going to do with Sadiq Bey. They got to pay him. If you keep Clint Capella around, he's got a nice contract. So I think Atlanta right now, they're down for whatever. And if they want to scoop up Mitchell Robinson, it's something
Man,
that I would have to listen to. I would
yeah,
have
no
to listen
doubt.
to it.
Yeah, he's not a guy who holds up a trade for me, but it's going to require a lot of planning, and obviously central is iHeart. A player who's showing he's very capable of being a top big man in the East. He's only 25 years old, and he's proving to be durable.
Well, they also have to figure out what his next payday is going to look like. That's another piece to this.
Absolutely. And I think with Mitch, right, I love his contract, but I love that he's so dominant at one or two specific things. That's what Tom Thibodeau loves. So I think it's going to be tough, man. Me personally, and this is just my thoughts, I would keep Mitch right up until the summer, see if he can get back this year, be a factor in the playoffs. If he doesn't, then I make a bigger decision in the summer
Mm-hmm.
with iHeart. But I wouldn't trade him to the Hawks in a mid-season deal. He's too important to our defense to disrupt that, in
Well,
season.
well, let me say this. If I'm getting Dejounte Murray and Clint Capella back in that deal,
You mentioned the word Clint Capella. You see that that might soften the blow. Chat. What do you think? Do you agree? Would you entertain this deal with the Hawks? Would you uh, agree with me and look at it in the summer? But if the Hawks were offering Clint Capella in the deal, or you could get a Daniel Gafford, off the Wizards in a separate deal
I,
or
I'm
in a
I'm not
three-way
I'm
deal.
not I'm not feeling Daniel Gafford. I'm not, because he hasn't been in a situation that's anything like this. He's got a bright future. He's starting to find himself in this league, but right now I need people who understand what it takes, what it takes to get to that next level. And again, with Murray, he's been in the presence of Pop. We already talked about the greatness of Nate McMillan, as both a player and a coach, is a guy who, knows what it was all about and what it takes to accomplish winning in this league. So the kid in Washington, what have they ever won? What has he ever been involved in? And I think the Knicks are of a mind that they want those players that have been there before. That's what they're looking for. OG Anunoby, of course, when Toronto won the championship, he was out. He had an appendectomy, but he was part of that championship team. He was part of the process that got them to that point where they could get the ring. Brogdon, sixth man of the year on a playoff team last year. He knows a little bit about what winning is about. He's been in that atmosphere. He's been in that culture. And that's where the Knicks are now. You might not want to buy in totally, but I'll give Thibodeau that credit that he has created a certain culture on this basketball team and has the players to enforce the culture that he has tried to create.
So here's where we're come to now, man. It's a point where we have to get your proposal. What's the trade look like for you in this season? But remember, you mentioned off air Precious Achiuwa. Like, he's not a guy we trust in the playoffs as the backup big.
No.
So how are we getting this piece from your vantage point, and how are we going to address the backup big as well?
If this winds up being a deal with Portland, Portland has 4 centers on their roster right now. And the kid from Australia that we were talking about, I mean, I'm not saying he's nothing, but he looked pretty interesting the other night when they were in here at the Garden.
He shoots it, he rebounds.
You know, um, is he Isaiah Hartenstein? No, but I think he's better than Precious Achiuwa with the minutes. Achiuwa is an undersized 4-5. He really is, and he doesn't shoot that well to be that guy, at least in the small sample that I've seen.
Listen, I think Bobby Portis, Brook Lopez, Bam Adebayo, who would eat him up. I think he's good for the size he's got, but he's really a backup 4, in my opinion. But he's switchable.
Yeah, and we've been dancing around this Clint Capella thing. Clint Capella is making $22 million next year. That kind of fits for them, doesn't it? That kind of fits for them.
When does the money come off the books?
Next year is the final year of his deal.
Bingo.
Next year is the final year of his deal. And next year he makes 22.65. And while I'm on this page looking at this, next year Dejounte Murray is 25.4. The following year he's 27.5. Then there's another year at 29.5. Then in 27-28, that's when he gets the player option for 30.
So yeah, no doubt Atlanta's going to make a move. I think, like you said, the Heat are involved. It's a matter of, can we get this Clutch Sports Leon Rose CAA situation resolved? Do we have to give up Grimes because they do like Grimes as well? I like a deal with Portland. That seems to be more friendly for me. And I know it's not Dejounte Murray, but
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think a pathway to a deal is going to be more smooth with, especially with Chauncey Billups out there.
Chauncey, he needs a lot. They need a lot. And I mean, right now, you could conceivably send them Grimes, if you are so inclined, Sims, the expiring contract of Fournier, a couple of draft picks. It's a lot, but the money kind of matches.
One of those baloney first rounders that's heavily protected.
Yeah, yeah, because they need bodies out there. They need bodies.
They do. They're losing. What do you think of Detroit as well? The Knicks are, Detroit's looking to make a veteran move as well, if you believe the reports. Former Nick Alec Burks is out there. Bogdanovich. There's talk they might move on from Jaden Ivey as well.
I'd be interested in Ivy. I don't care about the other guys. Ivy, I'd be interested in, but again, that's an off-season kind of thing. I said to somebody a couple of days ago, I think Detroit's going to stand pat for the rest of this season because they got a lot of guys that are in their second year. And it's that third year that determines what you're going to be in the NBA. So I think they're going to bring back this youthful nucleus next year. And that's going to be make or break time for them. That's just my opinion. I don't have any facts or any connections with Detroit. And I know what everybody else knows. They're an awful basketball team, but they're better than they've shown, I think.
No, you've got that feel. You've got the eye test. You've got the experience. I mean, a lot of things you've said on the show, Bill, and we always get comments in retrospect saying, Bill D was on fire. Bill was right. We talked about it in the preview. So give us a bit of wisdom moving ahead. Summarize where the Knicks are headed, but also give us some words on for the Toronto side. RJ quickly, they look to be in the right spot out there.
Let's see what Toronto gets back when they trade Siakam. Because I think it's clear as the nose on everybody's face that Siakam is going to Philly. He's going to Philly. If Nick Nurse is breathing and standing on the sideline, the next uniform Pascal Siakam wears will be that of the Philadelphia 76ers. And I'll give them an interesting big three, and that would propel them back up into that second spot in the East. Right now, it's Boston. And like I said, the Knicks are at the tip of the second place iceberg right now. To me, I think right now the Knicks are better than Milwaukee. Right now, I think the Knicks are head and shoulders over Cleveland. Cleveland, they don't know what they're going to do. Another interesting name that has come up in this trade deadline stuff with the Knicks is Jordan Clarkson. But I don't know. Danny Ainge is always trying to, get every grape off the vine, man. And I don't know if the Knicks would be well served to be dealing with them, but Clarkson is, again, because we're talking about that immediate need. Fix that bench. Get that second unit production back up to an acceptable level. That's their need. That's their situation. That's their issue right now. They can do that with Brogdon. Brogdon would be ideal for that. But if you're thinking big picture and want to go beyond that, well then, okay, what is it going to take to get Dejounte Murray here? And everybody is they like to harp on the thing that when the Knicks made the deal for Reddish, that Atlanta was hot and heavy on Quentin Grimes in that situation. I don't know. Maybe that ship has sailed, but if you like a guy, you like a guy. It's just like OG. The Knicks liked him. And without tampering and all that, it was something that was known. So, I mean, how do you parlay Atlanta's desire for Grimes into a deal with Murray. Boy, that's a small piece in a very, very big pie. And you got to
Yeah,
figure out
and
how to make it happen if you can make it happen.
the Pacers, I really feel like they're a huge landing spot for Siakam as well. They can put together a good package. Kevin Pritchard, I think they really like what they're doing. They got Tyrese, um, Obi, and Kaysen Wallace.
Full disclosure. When I first heard that the Knicks were interested in Dejounte Murray, the first guy I thought of was Tyrese Halliburton. I said, here's a guy who could give Halliburton some trouble.
Yep.
That was my initial thought. Tyrese Halliburton was the guy that I thought about. And you only hope that he gets back from that hamstring. Come on, man, because there was some water on the court. And the guy does the splits. Yikes. Fortunately, it wasn't as bad as it looked. So,
Yeah, you're really on board with the Dejounte Murray deal. I think Leon Rose is really trying to make it happen, but we'll see. We'll see the price. We'll see the cost.
yeah.
Uh, one thing I wanted to note was Woj's reporting is that with discussions going on at the moment, right? When you're this far out from the deadline, you're usually not getting people's best offers yet.
Mm-hmm.
So preface that by everyone thinking, a deal's probably not going to happen until, closer to the deadline. We got
Oh,
our early deal.
oh yeah.
Now it's going to be a heck of negotiating, posturing, reports, fake news, all of that. So strap yourself in, ladies and gentlemen.
Like I said, Heat, Lakers, Knicks, Bulls, and Sixers all on the phone about Dejounte Murray. And who knows who else is trying to get in that sweepstakes. He's a great player, and he wants a change of scene. Does he want enough of a change of scene that he'd be willing to lead that second unit for the rest of the year, and then revisit what you're going to do? And again, he's signed for 3 more years after this, so he's going to be around. So he's going to do everything he can to pick that right situation. Some people have even talked about him going to Brooklyn.
I think the Heat and the Sixers are. I think the Heat would trade Tyler Hero to get to pair Dejounte Murray with Jimmy, that Yarquez kid. I think look out for the Heat.
That'd be dynamite. I'm telling you. Who if anybody, any of the current contenders in the Eastern Conference get Dejounte Murray, they are, in my mind, immediately jettisoned to the number 2 spot.
Ahead of the Bucks.
Immediately.
I'm really worried about the Bucks, Bill.
Look, they lost the head of their defensive snake. Simple as that. It's as simple as that, and it's a trickle down effect. That you don't have Drew Holiday at the top of your defense anymore. That affects everything that goes on behind it. Just very as simple as that. It makes those other guys have to do other things because the eraser isn't there. The harasser, the guy that makes your offense, that makes the opponent's offense change what they're trying to do, change the way they have to go about it. That guy's not there anymore. No disrespect to the kid who replaced him, but no, he's not Drew Holiday. Not close. Not close at either end of the floor.
No, not even close, man. And yeah, Giannis is just going to grow more frustrated. Before we wrap up, my final thoughts are in terms of Mitch, right? Mitch's impact could be like a wild card, and you're absolutely right. We cannot even, speculate now. We can't think about him as a a guy who's going to produce in the playoffs because we don't know when he's back. But in a world where if he was to get back with OG Anunoby, I think he would be like a brand new. Well, he would be like a brand new acquisition, a brand new player, and I think our defense would be scary. And if you're Bill, if you're other GMs and teams, now that you've given this trade A plus for OG, if you were other teams reacting to this deal, would your fear of the Knicks have gone up a notch?
Let me tell you something. If the Knicks can pull off a deal for Brogdon, who is by no means a shabby defender, that will put the fear of God in some rival GMs and teams. That's how close this team is. That's how close this team is. And everybody they focus on the superstar. They want that superstar guy. You can't even name who the superstar is. But if they can get either one of these two players that are in the rumor mill right now, you're talking about a team that will go beyond the second round of the playoffs. I'll make it as simple as that.
Yeah, I completely agree. And yeah, the superstar, we just have to be patient. We know in the NBA, it happens, year to year. Someone's going to ask out. You can bank on it. It's
Oh yeah.
just the name's not clear right now, but best believe, the frustrations is going to grow in LA more with LeBron. The frustrations is going to grow with Giannis. There's only one team that wins that Larry O'Brien, right?
Just one.
And every year, Luka. Don't think that the Mavericks and Luka's going to be cool with just getting knocked out every year.
So wait a minute now. You tell me if Lucas says I want out, I want to go to the Knicks. How's that going to sit with Jalen Brunson?
Hey,
you
make
you
make
you
it
want
happen.
to you want to know if Brunson and Murray can play together? Well, you saw that other act, and that's why Brunson is here.
Look, you got to clear the decks. But Dallas don't have the defensive rim protection we have. OG Anunoby would help guard all the wings. Luka wouldn't have to do that. He would just be dynamite offensively, you know?
I mean, we can all dream. We can all dream. Sherwin says the Knicks don't need Murray. We need a good wing who can force teams to defend. Stop it. One who will let Brunson get a point guard defender.
Look, we need to help get the scoreboard ticking up. When we're seeing it when everyone's on the court with Brunson and Randle, we absolutely have the firepower to compete with any team. My worry is when those guys are off the court, we fall off. It's just simple as that. Now, names out in Utah, you mentioned Sexton. I mean, I'm going to mention Sexton, Clarkson. There's,
I think Sexton is coming back from injury. Is he not? I may be wrong about that.
yeah,
I
think
think
so.
he's coming back from injury. Clarkson. See, Danny Ainge is a shark, man.
THT.
You deal with Danny Ainge. He's going to leave a mark. He's going to leave some teeth marks.
Leon didn't get fleeced. He knew when to walk away.
Yeah,
Let the Cavs. He
yeah,
let the Cavs outbid themselves.
yeah. And the guy is still not happy in Cleveland. And again, you don't need him in New York. He's not what you need here, unless he's going to be in that second unit. Because you have that in Jalen Brunson. And really, between the two, I think Jalen's the better player. Hasn't disappeared in the playoffs yet.
Absolutely. Yep. I can bank on Jalen Brunson. And with that said, ladies and gentlemen, before we wind up, we got to get these guys in, right? The All-Star voting is on the screen. You got Julius Randle up to 8th, and we've got Jalen Brunson who's in 6th,
Sixth
behind
place.
Maxey, behind Spider.
Tyrese Maxey's had a tremendous season. He has been a difference maker. Everybody was wondering, oh, what are they going to do? Are they going to be successful without Harden there? Yeah. Because of that guy that's in what'd you say, 6th place on the All-Star ballot? Yeah. He's been big this year. Tyrese Maxey has been a monster. I'd put him above everybody not named Tyrese Halliburton. How about that?
Are you willing to do your voting right now if I bring it on screen?
In the Eastern Conference, yeah, put it up.
Yep. I got it ready. 1 second.
Put it up. Yeah, I'm reading the small print on what you have up now. But I'll give you Halliburton, Maxey at guard. Sorry, Jalen Brunson. Yeah, I don't know if Halliburton's going to be able to go.
Okay, so who's first choice point guard?
Halliburton, he's a talk of the league. I got a feeling that he's not going to play though, and I got a feeling that's how Jalen Brunson's going to get in.
Okay, so
That's what I think.
we got to get Brunson second, right? For the
Yeah,
sake of it.
I got Maxey and Brunson. Give me the front court guys.
Maxey, Brunson. Okay, let's get these guys in.
Uh,
Front court now. Embiid, Giannis, Tatum.
I think 1, 2, 3. Julius. I mean, I see Julius every night, but the other three guys are the difference makers on their team. Randle is an important second piece, but he's not Embiid, he's not Giannis, and he's not Jason Tatum in terms of what he means to the team. But if I can get a fourth guy on there, I'm putting Julius on. How about that?
Okay, yeah, Julius will get in the reserves, but for the sake of the vote, I just popped him in.
Okay.
Well, submit. Great team. It only better for the Knicks in terms of their discussions internally, their growth. To have two All-Stars. The last time we had that, Bill, was when?
I don't even care. I don't even care about All-Stars. The goal is the Larry O'Brien Trophy, something that the New York Knicks have never won. Because the last two times they won the championship, there was a different trophy in play. It was a bowl. It was a bowl. It wasn't the Larry O'Brien Trophy. As a matter of fact, Larry O'Brien was commissioner of the league last time the Knicks won. Actually, I have a Larry O'Brien basketball here.
I got the bowl on screen, just up there.
Yeah. There's the bowl. Looks like a different version of the Stanley Cup. The Knicks won that. They won that twice. Yeah.
It looks like a soccer cup.
Yeah.
As well.
The Knicks name is on there in a couple places. Let's see if they get that Larry O'Brien. That's what I don't care about All-Star games anymore. All-Star games used to be cool before agents, before everybody had this mutual affiliation where you didn't see teams as frequently, and there was some enmity between guys. Now everybody loves everybody, and so All-Star games, man, it's powder puff, kiss and hug, and that kind of stuff. I mean, look at
Dirty
what
Dancer.
Look at what the NFL has done to the All-Star game. They don't have one now.
The in-season tournament is going to grow into being like the new All-Star.
I like that.
Weekend.
Yeah. I like that because they're playing for something. That Final Four. I mean, there's a significant piece of money on the table, and everybody can get some.
Yeah, exactly. Right. That's what it's about. Branding and everything. Well, yeah. Great conversations, Bill. Firstly, appreciate you as always coming on, giving us your time, but also your knowledge, your wisdom, and some bombs as well, some dimes.
Wow. Yeah, it's like I'm always talking to people. I don't do this anymore for a living, but I'm always talking to people. And I enjoy that. And again, it's an honor that they have that level of respect for me, what I've done, and what I allegedly know.
That's it, right? More conversations to be had. This season's getting to halfway point. The trade period's heating up. The Knicks are in Memphis tomorrow night. Like Bill said, no Ja Morant. We'll be live post-game once again. Everyone, appreciate you for coming in through the building live. Replay squad, salute. Smash that like button. The streets are always buzzing, but even more so when the legend, Bill DAUGHTRY, comes through the building. Great to see you. Happy New Year once again. And I hope hopefully next time we talk, it's business end of the season.
Oh, yeah. Playoffs are coming. Playoffs are coming.
Any final thoughts before we get out of here?
Go Knicks.
The streets are buzzing.
CT, always a pleasure, my brother. Thank you again.
Yep. Peace.